Happened to stumble into a very cosmic experience, a concert that I promoted in Pasadena at the Healing Force of the Universe, and I was just so enthralled with the vibe and the energy. I was having such a ball. I didn't really pay attention to who was there. I knew people were there, but one of the byproducts that comes from doing things spontaneously, improvisationally, is that you discover new people in the lineage of music, and it's been quite a breathtaking experience to go through my next guest's work. You know, I think she has many more chapters left to write, but fusing sort of, this. I hate genres so much, but the point is that she was at the concert, then I connected with her, and I just have a funny feeling that more is going to come from this. Malena, Cadiz, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have you. Can you talk about an early memory of magic occurring in your life?
Yes. Do you mean musically or just magic in
Yeah,
general?
yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Musically, I used to just like love my parents' record collection, and I really loved the Whitney Houston, I Believe the Children Are the Future record. So I would spin
Oh,
furiously around the living room
oh.
listening to that. I broke my nose to it, spinning so furiously. Um, And also, oh, my dad and his brothers, they used to play music together. I guess that's actually the first memory I have of that is they would they all played guitar and they would sing Beatles covers and James Taylor covers and were Filipino on that side, so they would do some like classic Tagalog songs, and that always felt
It
really
would
like
put you.
home.
That would put you into a magical samadhi type state.
Yeah, it made me just feel like, oh, this is home. I mean, I think more about it now that it's uh that it was that was a special thing to have music around the family like that. Um, yeah. Does that make
And
sense?
well, sometimes you have to surrender to. I mean, have you come off the bandstand before, and people said, "How did you do that?" And you said, "I had no idea." Have you been able to surrender to the Socratic method that you must know what you don't know?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I think that's like an ongoing, um, just like an ongoing journey in life in general, surrendering to what you don't know, right? And so I try that. There's for sure been moments like that on stage, and it's something in musically and in life I feel like I'm striving towards, right? Like that's a pretty enlightened place to be.
Can you talk about being vulnerable on the bandstand, or cite a specific example of how you're trying to push yourself out of your comfort zone?
Yeah. Um, I think it's just about being really in the moment, right? Trying to be more in the moment and to trust myself, trust the moment, right? And let go to that. So I feel like it's for me personally, it's being as prepared um, as I can be, and then letting go once we're up on, on the bandstand.
So I'm curious about if you could talk to the audience, especially about the the type of folk music that you were exposed to when you would go back to Singapore, uh, and just in general, how that has actually how you've incorporated that kind of rhythm in your voice and music.
Mm, um, yeah, the first folk music I was exposed to, I lived in Singapore only in high school for a couple of years, and other than that, I lived in Maryland for a little while, and then Michigan. Um, and the folk music that really spoke to me is like pretty classic, right? That 60s folk revival, Dylan. I like remember discovering my mom's Blonde on Blonde record and being blown away, and then Leonard Cohen and those storyteller, those storyteller folk singers, Joni Mitchell, obviously, and
But you
and
must, but I mean, when you went back to a bustling Asian city, can you talk
yes,
about some of the indigenous folk music or how you would describe that to, because I do feel like there is some kind of tonal, there's some, it had an impact on you. I'm just wondering what your exposure was.
mm,
Obviously, you had a very hip family. Obviously, they were exposing you to a lot of American music, but there's
yes,
always like a tribal component to world music. And that's always what I'm trying to get at. I don't care what genre it is. And I just wonder about the rhythm, or if you actually, took in some of that music.
yeah. Honestly, I went to like Singapore is very British. It was a British colony for so long, and I went to an international school. And I
I dig,
wasn't,
I dig, I
you
dig.
know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you weren't like out on the streets like hanging. I know, I get it. I mean, it's also
Yeah, like I
it's
wish
not.
I could go back and like explore that, but it just wasn't what I was exposed to.
What was that?
But it,
Yeah. So I mean, you were there for. Would you say you started um, getting into music there, or more on the American side?
yeah, that's where I learned to play guitar. My dad brought home a guitar, like this kind of classical guitar from like a business trip he'd been on, and he taught me a few chords, and I was so enthralled by it. And my friends and I started a band, and we would play our originals and covers, but it was all very Western. Now that I look back, I feel like, oh, I wish I would have explored more the local culture, and it felt like there's a big division, right, between the local Singaporean culture and the expat community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel that it should be a lot more. I sort of had, and you could say in the past tense. I still feel like that is something that is attainable. Although, was it all? I mean, not that. I mean that you have a lot of that part of you. Uh, that's your blood, And I just wonder when you. It's a pretty brutal country. Am I wrong? Has it gotten more restrictive since you've been there?
I haven't been back in so long. I'm Filipino, but my dad lived there for a
You're
number of
in. All right.
years
So the Philippines.
working.
I mean, you go. That's. Um, What about the Philippines? Is that not as at least the way it's perceived in this country that it's incredibly oppressive?
Yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time there, but when I was there, it was very much like this huge disparity of wealth, right? You have the communities living under the freeway overpasses, and then you have these gated communities, and you have it was really startling the first time I went there, and I'm glad I had that experience to see just the level of poverty that we see a certain level of it here in LA, but that was really eye-opening to see that. And then the way that the Filipino culture has been colonized for so long, and I'm not
Right. No,
I'm
I don't blame. It's not actually like it's not the hippest place for an expat, really.
yeah, and I remember I was there as a teenager, and I wasn't allowed to go out by myself really because they were concerned I would be kidnapped, so yeah, it's a weird vibe, and I haven't been back in a long time, so I don't know what the vibe is now, so I can't speak to that.
I dig
Yeah.
completely. You,
But it, oh, go
I'm
ahead.
just feeling like a very deep spiritual vibe from that Filipino side of you. Like I feel like, um, maybe in LA there's some kind, I don't know. I mean, what is your exposure to, or you know what? Here's the better question.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you learned a few chords from your dad. You were listening to good pop. Pop music was great at that time, you know.
Yeah.
And but I wonder, did you, as you become a band leader, what are the most important intangibles that people need to have that you want to surround yourself? Who you want to surround yourself? What are the intangibles? Because you can find anybody that has great chops.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's certain things like there's saturation of, but then there's like what I talked to you about at the beginning is surrounding yourself with magical people.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like that's a real priority. People who have like a luminous quality about them. And I feel like in my band, like I love so much everyone that I'm working with in my band, and they all have a real openness. Like, I was listening to the interview you did with Jason Abraham Roberts, and Aaron Stern, who both play in my band, and they have a real open-heartedness about them, right? And I think that's really
And that's not common
important to
though.
me.
I mean, there's a lot of, what I'm saying is that that's a beautiful quality that does not appear in most people,
Yeah,
not just musicians.
right, right. Yeah. Yeah, people who can like be vulnerable um
But
and work
also
together.
like inclusivity. Like I mean, they're open to your ideas, but I mean, I think have those guys in some ways helped stretch out the songs or even give the songs a life of their own? Are they adding parts or things like that, or in terms of because they're not just great players, but they're like I don't know, they're capable of like adding to songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I find that I love to work with people who I just love their musical sensibility, right? And then it feels like you're pouring it all into this soup pot and the result is, is magic, to use that word again. And I definitely feel like that, like both of them. And then Leanne Skoda, do you know her? She sings with me a lot, also at
Yeah,
similar
I mean, I just
vibe.
sort of I connect with who I connect. I mean, I'm not totally hip to her, but she's yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I feel like everyone who I play with brings something really special like that. And especially and like both Jason and Aaron played on my record. Um, and I feel like that yeah, they brought their own right, their own thing, their own flavor that's like indescribable. I don't
How
feel
have
like
you been
yeah.
able like can you talk about the I don't know back in the day the James Taylors and the you know obviously you know some people had insane budgets, but you know bands like the band
Yeah.
or you know Dylan like things were done. Dylan didn't communicate verbally very well at all. So, you know, people, Al Cooper and people like that had to translate for him, quote unquote. But,
Yeah.
um, you know, just in general, everything was done on the pre-production side. The talking was about the concepts of the songs, the stories of the songs, how they wanted the songs to be delivered, you know,
Hmm.
and then they'd hit, and it was like a first or second take, and there was barely any post-production. And in today's world, it's all post production because of the technology that's available. I mean, they were using analog and things like that. But I just wonder, to me, the music sounds so alive from that time on those records because it was this is kind of the feeling and the vibe. Let's hit and let's get out after the first or second take. And I just wonder where you're at in terms of hitting at the same time with everybody. Uh, you know, doing basically keeping first or second takes and also how much reliance you do on post production.
Okay. For this record, we started it during the pandemic, so some of it was a little more compartmentalized, but then the bulk of it we would track with we had like the rhythm section and the guitars all in the same room. So there's like a chunk of songs that are live, and those are kind of like I love that. Obviously I love that vibe. and then
Wait,
we
I
would
want to
do
be
some
clear. I
of.
just want to be clear though. You live meaning like the band was hitting at the same time. Maybe you overdubbed the vocals later, or you were singing with them.
Yes, we had. So we I tracked the whole record with Andrew Lappin, who has a studio in Hollywood. Now he's moved to Eagle Rock. But at the time, and there wasn't a vocal isolation booth, so we were all in the same room, and I was singing with them.
Oh, I
And
love
then,
this. I love
yeah,
this.
and then I, but then I did overdub the vocal later because there was too much bleed. Um, but yeah, that was super fun. And especially because we tracked that stuff after COVID. So it was like also the thrill of all being in the same room together. And then we had a day where we brought in all of the vocalists. So we had everyone around one mic and doing all the background vocals. And that also felt really special. That was like, I think like maybe like a month after everyone got vaccinated.
Right. That was an interesting time. What was compartmentalized going in about the album?
Oh, so we did a couple songs where we just had the drummer. We tracked the drums, right? Where I had a scratch track, then we tracked the drums, and then we built on top of that. There's going to be like two tracks like that on the record. But honestly, I love how those turned out too. It was just like the experience of getting to track in the room with everybody that felt really alive and off the cuff.
How do you feel like you have been able to allow the music to breathe, or how do you disseminate the music? As someone that has to wear eight hats, or any musician has to do multiple things. I mean, what is there a roadmap for dissemination, and so that it gets into the ears of people that matter?
Do you mean the way in which, like,
I'm saying, like, I mean, James Taylor, Joni Mitchell, I don't care who it was,
yeah,
they could make an album and go on like a 30 state tour and lose money on the tour. It wouldn't matter. The record made so much money because it was a commerce based
right.
record industry. So I just assume that you would like to do a lot more touring live.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so how do you do that? I mean, what is that? Is that something that is it even fair that the artist should have to even try to do that dance? Or because I mean, to me,
Um,
that's a distraction from the art itself.
to have to book one's own tours and
Well, I'm just saying, like, wear
manage.
too many hats. I mean,
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah,
not
that's
have the
a
apparatus.
that's like a ongoing, I don't know, discussion, right, among all of my artist friends. It's like a no matter what level you're at, the level of support that we're working with is either so much you have to do on your own, and I try to stay positive about it, and but it is like it's hard to change hats from your emailing hat to your creation hat, right? It takes like
I don't know how you do it.
yeah.
I really don't, because the things that I don't like to do, I just don't do them. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's the problem.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's just I don't know, it's kind of like one of those things, it's just the way it is right now. So, I try to just do it and
Do you
play the
feel like
game that is the
is it
game at
like,
this time.
yeah? No, I mean, like, um, it's it's a fascinating, and how inside, how do you, what are some of the yogic practices you have that, because for me, this is, I don't think that this is, our conversation is not yoga, but I mean,
Yeah.
certain type of music, not a yoga, it's sound yoga. So I just, when you're not able to, if you have that desire and that's what your purpose in life is, then you want to be doing it all the time, and most importantly to people. So
Yeah.
I mean, how do you keep your equilibrium? Because I mean, because the gigs are so few and far between, and because there really is no roadmap.
That's a good question. I think I I think it's a lot of, personal, right, work like meditation and um, I've done years of therapy, all these different modalities for kind of getting oneself centered and and I'm the most like healthy spiritual and psychological place. And I try to, you know, do as much as I can for the like my great love of music and my what I feel like I'm on this planet to create. And then I also there's so much else going on too, right? I'm a mother. There's just like a big life beyond that. And I feel like that actually there's something about having a child too that really grounds you in the moment. And sometimes that's really challenging. And then it kind of there's something about it I feel like gives me this like longer view and this bigger picture than before I had a child and I was a little bit more myopic.
Yeah, both my daughters changed my life.
Yeah.
My older daughter is about to on her way to Princeton in the
Wow.
fall. Yeah, the most cosmic love beings instilled in me an inspiration
Yeah.
beyond this world. And I think what you just said, I've been trying to. I always think about it. I mean, my kids are a little bit older. I don't know how old your kids are, but you know, I it's the grounding component that saved me. That and
Yeah.
receive the reason I received the Tao like 10 years ago, and I had
Mm.
never had a spiritual transmission before that. I mean, my dad is Jewish, my mom is Catholic. I was pretty much raised agnostic, but I had
Yeah.
this incredible spiritual transmission coinciding with my children being born, and it gave me a perspective that it's funny. For the cats that I know that don't have kids, their view is still myopic, but somehow the road just, it's like the Silk Road after that, once you have kids, you know?
Yeah.
You see, I don't know, it grounded me and stopped, and time kind of stopped. Not that there isn't challenges along the way, but
Yeah.
probably the biggest blessing in my life.
Yeah, it's you're so right. It's like so grounding in like a I don't know, like this purpose of keeping this little being alive, right? And then I feel like it opened up this you're like the doorway for this being to come into this world, right? And there's something that's so beyond, I don't know, it's like so mind-boggling about that. And
Well, no, because it's like I actually love like the infant years because then you can actually dream again. You get down on some sort of completely, you can be it's like like children. Like you
yes,
can be a
totally, you
child
get
again.
to do it again.
It's a
Yeah.
rebirth. It's a rebirth kind of thing. That was the
Mhm.
exciting. That was cosmic. But I mean, so you actually have like, have you so my point is that I got put on a spiritual path and, I'm stumbling along into grace, and I just wonder about if you have found a connection to source. What is your most authentic path to your true nature?
Hmm. A connection to source. I feel like I feel like that, um, like I feel very close to source, right? Like in nature, I think a lot of people feel that way. And sometimes I'll feel like I'm tapping into it when I'm creating a song, and in that space where you're just like really like in that without time and space moment. And, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's something that I'm continually looking for, right? As a spiritual practice.
I feel like you are a spirit. How should I say this? I feel you have a deep spirit, and I just don't know if you have. Not that I feel like you have allowed yourself to access it, but I wonder if you recognize the power of that spirit.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
It's sort of like past life. It's just you can feel that in your what is your intention for playing music? And I don't know. I mean, I'm 46, so I younger cats. I mean, I just wonder about your intentions for music. Everybody puts expectations on things. which, and I do it myself, and it's always, it
Yeah.
can be a letdown. So I just
Mhm.
wonder, like, what is your intention when you get on the bandstand? Like, uh, is it a matter of life and death? I mean, the bottom line is that, in Coltrane's band, a lot of those guys talked about playing as if it's a matter of life and death. And that there are no guarantees, that there is no guarantee of tomorrow, that um you have to play as if. And
Yes.
if
Okay,
you're
I love that.
and it's like so I wonder where you're at in that evolution, because there's a lot of amazing cats who they want and they feel more comfortable playing the same show every night. And I'm wondering, do you ever play the same song the same way once, or are you more comfortable playing the song the same way all the time?
Mm. I feel like I play like the basic shape of it, right?
Yeah,
The
right. The
same every
contour. Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But then I like to, I don't know, it's nice when you surprise yourself, right? Because you play those same songs again and again. So, and I play, I play a lot of shows solo. So I try to leave space to just surprise myself. And if a line feels like it wants to be sung a different way, to allow that to happen. And then and with a band, I feel like that's obviously way more fun to get to play within the like scaffolding of a song, but with other people and let the outro jam just go until it ends naturally. Like I
Right,
love
but
those moments.
how do you feel about, like, is that something that you've had to become more comfortable with? Is just sort of loosening up and letting especially the instrumental parts of the songs. I mean, no one's listening to a 20-minute jam, but have you had, and maybe I would, but I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah. Same,
are
same.
you have you had to learn to get more comfortable just sort of letting the song take its own course?
Yeah, I think like allowing myself to be, I think when I first started out, I needed to like know like, okay, there's gonna be four bars and then we're gonna end it, right? And now it's way more fun to just like all be in that moment together and like look at what, the guitarist is doing and just like listen for um everyone's just like their own journey within that moment and
Absolutely.
right and then you get a feeling like okay this we're gonna end right here. So I feel like, yeah, I think that's just like through practice, through doing it over the years, I've become more comfortable with that, and I hope to become more comfortable with
Well,
just like
clearly I mean,
riffing.
this is why we're connecting right now, because this is about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and you're already doing it. So
Yeah.
it's just going to continue to progress in this natural evolution. You ever did you learn in the academy, or are you what I like to call a complete street scholar of music?
Oh, I like that street scholar. That sounds
Yeah,
yeah.
dig that.
Yeah, I've I feel like I've like cobbled together a music education through a lot of different
Hmm.
classes and one-on-one instruction and but I didn't go to like a music conservatory or anything. Um, so it's something
Can you
again.
talk about a profound one of the a profound moment in one-on-one instruction, or just a class that you took that fundamentally stuck with you till and you still incorporate it today?
Hmm.
Or you could say there were no profound moments. I just did you basically learned on your own.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like I guess I kind of learned on my own, but I learned on my own through finding teachers that I felt were aligned. Like I studied classical guitar for a couple of years, and I studied with like blues guitar for a couple of years, and I studied song. I've like taken some songwriting classes, but songwriting I feel like that's something I really kind of taught myself just by listening to songs over and over again, and then breaking them down on like, oh, what's happening in the first verse, and then how does that lead into the chorus, and then how does the second verse build on that, and that's something that I feel like I just kind of intuitively have been journeying through. I can't think of off the top of my head like a moment, like a light bulb moment, really in my
Sure.
music education. Maybe I'll get back to you on that. It'll come to me.
I love. So wait, but you would say that there hasn't been at this point in your career, you feel, are you at peace?
Am I at peace? Some days I am, and some days I
Yeah, I'm no, I'm there. I mean, is that something you're? Some people are just sort of, they're either they're not just, but anyone that's burning inside, as I am,
yeah.
I'm always searching for that, and I don't always help myself too. I wonder
Yes.
that's the question is, how are you learning to get out of your own way in life?
That's such a good question. Um, yeah, it's like a day by day thing, and it's like I feel like some days I'm doing great at being out of my own way, and then other days I'm super in my own way. Um, and I'm learning to, I think it's a big part of like self-acceptance, right? Like embracing self-love, self-acceptance, like embracing this is where I am right now. This is my path in
Self
life.
love is key. Do you feel like um, do you feel that you have always loved yourself, or that has been a challenge? I love myself too much. That's
That's,
that's the that's the problem. Okay, like but but most people, self love is absolutely vital, and in fact, we've
yeah,
lost dear people because they give. Even though I'm a giver, I love myself. But we have
yeah,
people that they give and they give and they give, and then when they get to a dark place, they don't know how to reach out. They don't know how to
yeah.
love themselves. And I just, because I've been in therapy too for many years. Not anymore, actually. Rhythm is my therapy, as you
I
could
love
probably
that.
tell. Yeah, as you
Yeah,
but I talked. I
that's very
spent
healing.
many years there. So, um, when you start to get like triggered or even like stuck in yourself, what are
Hmm.
the first couple of things that you'll try to do to like work on your breath? Or I mean, you may not be in a place where you can necessarily do any kind of meditation, and I just wonder
Yeah,
what you do in order to like right in the moment, even on, because a lot of times uh you kind of have to be, I guess it's about being in the moment.
yeah. Such a good question. Like how to get regulated, right? It's like,
Well, and at the crisis moment when eventually it tapers down and you figure out how to, and then the next day it's a blissful day. But it's like
right.
right when you're like, why can't I get out of my own way? Or there is a lack of self love. For me, uh, a lot of the times it's live burning music.
Yes, I love that.
Like you
Yeah,
are a
that's always
music.
so healing. Going to a show of music you love is always so nourishing for sure to get out of my own head. I feel like if I'm having a hard day um and yeah, and like you were saying earlier, like a deep breath if I'm like feeling really, really activated and then I have to like step away. It's hard for me to get out of my kind of fight or flight response if I'm also trying to interface with other people sometimes. So I just have to like take a moment.
I really love your honesty, and I just want to say, like, you are being very much protected in this life and being looked over. So I want you to
Oh,
know that you're very, very, that you can proceed, let your life proceed by its own design, Malena, and
I love that.
all right, and don't hold back. I mean, any artist that goes off, it took me 10 years. I've been doing this 13 years. It took me 10 years to
Yeah.
actually start making any semblance of money. It's not a lot, but it's okay. And
Yeah.
so when you go off and do something and be an originalist, be an artist, and my folks are not judged. They're not really into the dogma of Western culture about success, but the lack of security, And but at the end of the day, so it took a while with me and my folks as I went off and started the Jake Feinberg show.
Yeah.
And over time, they didn't understand it. They didn't know what I was doing, but they respected it. And then once I got into the New York Times, and once I published 5 books, and once I was able to freaking connect with Jason Abraham Roberts and all these other beautiful people and put
Yeah.
on these shows, they were like, wow. So my question is, maybe your parents don't understand your path, but do they respect your path?
I think that they respect it now. I think in early on they were concerned, or my father more so. My parents are separated, and my dad's an architect, my mom's a teacher and an artist, and she's one
Wow.
of those parents that's just like whatever she's just like right there with you, whatever you do.
Such a hip cat. Such a hip cat.
Yeah, yeah. And my dad too, he's very supportive of and he loves music so much, but I think also comes from a similar place of wanting that security for his children, right?
Right.
And um and similar, like it was once there were some like outside markers of success, right? Like once he could like heard my song on a TV show or something, it was like, oh, okay, like I think I understand a little bit more what
Hold
she's
on. I
doing.
want to wait. You got to tell that story. I want. This is why I do my show. You please tell that to
Oh
me,
yeah.
because you know what it is. Back in the day,
Yeah.
there would have been nothing more magical than you know an accompanist like Lee Sklar or Jim Keltner. You know, when you're driving down the street and it's like you hear a song that you played on the radio that was being played locally,
Yes.
not
Oh my
because
God,
we're in
so
this
cool.
syndicate.
Yeah.
You know, I mean that's the same thing. So you're telling me that he's like chilling out watching TV one night and he sees a commercial with your please tell that story.
Oh, it was my first television sync was on this TV show Nancy Drew that's on the was on the
Oh
CW.
yes.
And yeah, it was a great sync. It was a really cool scene.
Wow.
And I think he heard from my aunt that it had been on this show. So he saw the video and he was like, it was so sweet. He was so excited and he showed all of his friends at the golf club and that was super cute.
Oh my yeah, no, he just like is so classic.
Yeah, it was very, yeah. And so I feel like, and I understand too, like he's an immigrant, right? Like he's first generation over from the Philippines. I think it is like, um,
They those in some cases they are the most stringent. I only say
yeah,
that I mean because the mother of my children is Taiwanese, so I know Asian
yes, okay.
culture. Yeah, and so it's like um I know what you're talking about. And really it's really hardcore.
Yeah, and it's very, I don't know, my husband and I always joke about it, like there's this kind of like hive, well, I don't know if it's a hive mind, but like we have a huge family, right? And everyone kind of moves as this like I have like 30 cousins and my dad has 9 siblings and you kind of like move as this unit and
Right. Traveling veterans. Yeah, no, I dig.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so there's a certain I don't know what my point is about that, but there's just like something different about it and kind of subverting the individuality a little bit for the greater good, right? Um,
Exactly.
yeah. There's a real beauty in that, and I love how close-knit my Filipino family is, because there's this importance of family first, right?
I think it's I mean I'm a little conflicted about the whole thing, just on my own from my own experience.
Yeah.
But you lived it. I mean that's your blood. I took it in from I don't know. Sometimes I feel like sometimes there's a lack of again myopic views, having a hard time seeing the forest through the trees, so to speak. But that being said, um, brilliant people, very industrious people, and like at the core, he came here. He wanted to assimilate to American culture, and you know he that's what he did, and that's a beautiful thing. Malena, I wanted to ask you. This just came to me. I was curious about I wanted to ask you if I could promote a concert of yours.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think I have anything coming up in LA.
Yeah, I was,
To
I was, I
promote.
was, I was, so I'll hit you with a couple of dates, but I told Roberts this morning, I'm like, I think I'm gonna pitch this. He's like, that would be awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I would love that.
All right, let's do it. Because honestly, like, no matter what, um, if you always, that's the one thing I want to tell you is like, it's not about perfection, okay? It's not,
Yeah.
it's about striving for greatness. And
Mm-hmm.
that might mean that you hit a flub or your vocal, you hit a clam or something. But
Yeah. Uh-huh.
take that and make it into something new.
Yeah, I
And
love
there,
that.
imperfection is perfection.
Yeah.
So that's my advice to you in your music. I mean, nobody wants something, you don't want it to be sloppy, but that's all that's that I've spoken enough, Malena. It was really great. It was
I
great
love
to
that.
hang with you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so lovely to chat with you. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Bless you, my friend. I'll be in touch.
You too. Okay, sounds great. Have a great day.
Too, my friend.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.